Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of This Woman Can. I am your host, Janice Sutherland, career and life strategist for the mature Black woman. Now, this week I have a guest. Yes, I have another guest. I have Camille Steer. Now, Camille currently serves as Senior Corporate Manager with JMMB Fund Managers and has over 15 years' experience in the financial sector because I'm continuing my theme of money, with expertise in the insurance, retail banking, and pension fund management. In her capacity as Senior Corporate Manager, Camille provides leadership and oversight for client relationship management, pension fund revenue growth, and property management services for JMMB fund managers. She holds an MBA in finance from Manchester Business School and a bachelor's degree in economics and accounting from the University of West Indies. And in addition, Camille is a fellow of the Financial Services Institute and is currently pursuing a doctoral studies at the Mona School of Business at UWE with a thesis focused on pension and economic growth. So with all that, I felt compelled to reach out to her, especially when what really sparked my interest was a post I saw her placed on LinkedIn about Hello Future, a retirement planning hub dedicated to supporting individuals in achieving their financial goals. And whilst most women, I know most of us are aware of pensions, I realised as I navigated my own pension journey, because it's no secret that I'm almost 60 this year, that there's a certain mystique surrounding the topic, and who better to speak to than someone working in the pension field? So, Camille, that's how you ended in the hot seat. Welcome to This Woman Can.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It is indeed a pleasure to have a conversation around this particular topic. It is something that needs to be addressed. And as you indicated, you want to demystify, in terms of the whole conversation and get persons excited around financial planning.
Steady on, excited. Come on.
Well, hence the name. You would have mentioned it, Hello Future. When we did Hello Future, it was with that particular vision to make the conversation exciting, because you want persons to have that call to action in terms of their whole finances.
Okay. Now, as you know, I work with women 40 plus, but I also know that our needs and our wants, desires are very different from our 40s, our 50s and 60s. So I'm going to probably give a few questions that are particular to each age group, but also some general questions. So let me kick off with a general question first.
Yes.
So what are the key financial considerations, Camille, for women planning for their retirement at different ages, the 40s, 50s, 60s per se?
And when you look in terms of your life cycle, and especially when we're looking in terms of 40s, 50s, 60s. Now, between your 40s to 50s, that is what you would say is your accumulation phase. Okay. And in your 40s, the mandate that you would have as it relates to your financial planning is that you need to be staying on track with your finances. How do you achieve staying on track with your finances? And the key element of that, even when you're looking on your retirement portfolio, is one, you're looking to see in terms of the debt that you may have. How is it that you manage that? Because that can be an albatross around your neck, and it can hold you back in terms of how much it is that you're putting aside for your retirement portfolio.
Okay.
And then you also want to be in your 40s now, looking on your asset allocation. What are some of the assets? What are some of the investments that you have specifically for when you stop actively working? So in your 40s, you need to be realigning that, if possible, maximizing in terms of any investments that you may have that are specifically geared towards generating income for you in retirement. And what would hold now for your 50s is that because you are closing in as it relates to the time horizon, in your 50s, you're I would say you're focusing on what lies ahead, so to speak. And that is that you may be out of the workforce and not actively working day to day. You don't have a regular 9 to 5. So you would have to be ensuring that you reviewing your insurance coverage needs, looking on some of the estimated costs that you may have when you stop actively working. Also, what are some of the opportunities? Because it is not when you hit a particular age, you just stop working. No, you may have opportunities, whether it is to explore different jobs, whether it is a consultant, any particular activity or a passion project that may give you some stream of income. But again, you're in your 50s, you're focusing on what lies ahead. So just to underscore, in your 40s, what you're doing is staying on track. And staying on track means that you are, and one of the things that we have, even as it relates to the framework that we would have created, is what we call the ABC framework. And that ABC framework, specifically when you're in your 40s, you're going to be looking at is making an assessment of your finances.
Right. Okay.
Looking on your budget.
Okay. The B.
Look into your budget, and C, consistency, which I always say is like a superpower, because it's not necessarily what you earn, but it's the consistency of the savings and the investment.
Right. Now, one of the things that's really poignant for me, again, reaching the age I am, no, I was going to start the 40s. I want to start with women in the 60s because we are living longer. You know, period.
And the statistics ring true. Women live longer than men. So that is a whole different ball game now.
So one of the things I think for women in their 60s, because I know when I was definitely starting out my career, 20s, 30s, 60s seems so far away. And what I see is 60 now, how I see my 60 is not my mama's 60.
Yes,
you know, definitely not what I, you know, and I expect to be gallivanting, for want of a better word, for a long, long time.
It is a perfect word.
You know, God willing. So how can a woman who's in her 60s approaching retirement ensure that, you know, when we probably maybe started this conversation, we didn't have that aspect of longevity in mind? So what are some of the things we can do to make sure that we're adequately covered as much as possible as we're living longer?
So in your 60s now, you are on that cusp of it, as it relates to possibly coming out of the workforce, actively working, and you're hitting what we call the distribution phase. So in the distribution phase, you have to be looking on your numbers. Your numbers related specifically to how much money you have saved or invested to date, and what is a pension coverage that you're getting. Case in point, have I saved enough up to this particular point in time? And what is the replacement rate? So have I saved enough so that I'm replacing 60% of the income that I used to get, 40% of the income that I used to get? Because that number will then indicate how is it that you're going to manage your finances when you hit in your 60s. And it's very important, because what you're looking for at that particular point now is preservation of your money. So even the stance in terms of your risk appetite would change. It would possibly much more of a conservative approach. Compared to when you were in your 20s or your 30s. So it requires you to sit down with a financial advisor and say, this is what I have in my pot of funds. How is it that I can manage it so I don't outlive my income?
Yeah. And I'm glad you touched on risk there, because irrespective of what age you are, what I find is that a lot of women are risk averse. Especially when it comes to money. So how can we navigate potential changes in our risk tolerance, especially as we're approaching this retirement age? What can we do
in terms of your risk tolerance? So, and because I teach also lecture, so I have a thing with acronyms. So an article that I would have written some time ago would have actually looked on specifically what I said, W.O.M.A.N. And for the first thing is having a winning investment strategy.
Okay.
The second one is open to investment opportunities. That is critical in terms of mindset. And then you want to be a member of our pension arrangement where you're getting tax benefits. And then again, auditing your finances, and no to negative self-talk. And that is critical, because females sometimes have a tendency to be conservative. So when you assess your finances, because the reality for females is different from the reality for males, and you have to be much more aggressive in terms of the opportunities that may be available and how it is that you're going to maximize it. So there has to be a literal shift And podcasts that in terms of that you have will
Yeah.
help to motivate and as a conduit in terms of persons saying in the headspace, I need to think more about
Yeah.
this is a
Yeah.
reality. The
Yeah.
statistics show that
Yeah.
are living longer, so I
Yeah.
can't have a lackadaisical
Mm.
approach in terms of how it is that I'm planning for my eventual retirement.
Thank you for that. It's definitely food for thought. So let me bring it down a few years now. Maybe yeah, it just seems like a distant memory, but it's not so long ago. For women in their 40s, and so we've just talked about having a longer life expectancy.
Yes.
So how should a woman in her 40s adjust her retirement savings goals?
So a woman, I would have indicated a little earlier in terms of staying on track. And what you'd want to do is you'd want to ensure that you're reducing your debt.
Yeah.
Because that is one of the things when you look on the data, is that persons at that particular age may be heavy in debt, whether it is car, house. So how is it that you may consolidate some of this so that you can reduce your debt burden? And then you're going to be looking on your asset allocation, and you want to increase whatever contributions that you have to a tax arrangement so that you can maximize in terms of your retirement portfolio.
So yeah, and I hear all that, and I hear about debt
Mm.
consolidation. I hear about investing more in your in your pension pot and stuff like that. But at this stage, usually women in their 40s now they're juggling their career advancements. They've got childcare. They've got other responsibilities. They may be the sandwich generation looking for elderly parents. So how can they prioritize retirement savings? Give me something that says this woman, Lister's going, look, Tal, look, I've got things to do. My money is my money. I don't have anything to spare. So what would you say to a woman who's listen to this and saying, I don't have anything, I can't do this, I've got too many responsibilities?
And I've heard that so many times. And let me be frank, if you cannot afford it, no. Can you imagine then?
Wow. Yeah, that's actually, yeah. Wow.
And that is just the stark reality. And if you have that particular, if you state that, if you have that limit to yourself and you are boxing yourself into the day-to-day and saying, I cannot, when you reach that age, you cannot, because you would have had the time period to say, even if it is just a little bit, it is 500 is better than 0. 1,000 in maths, that is what I know. So it is better you put aside something now, because it is your quality of life that you are trying to maintain. And if you are struggling now, and I know I'm very passionate, if you're struggling now, can you imagine then when you have healthcare costs, when there's a possibility that you maybe have to take care of your parents, or you may have no one, but based on what is happening, based on your lifestyle choices that you have made, you are in a place where you may have to rely on the state. And you don't want to be in that position.
Thank you. Especially when you've spent a lot of your time and hopefully your career navigating, trying to be in control of your career, because that's what's, got us to where we are. So why are we now giving up that freedom per se to be dependent on somebody else when you fought so hard?
And I need to pause and say that is what persons are going to experience. That is a crisis that we're going to experience. And it is sad and it is disheartening. And it's because persons have not seen the reality. Some persons are experiencing it now, by virtue of the fact that they would have had to take care of their parents who did not do retirement planning. And there was a point in time in our culture where they said, your children are your pension. They're going to take care of you. But that is not the reality. No. For some persons, sometimes the children are coming back into the homes. You have to help to take care of them, help to take care of the grandchildren, whatever circumstance it may be. But just like how let's say you're on the plane and they say you have to put the mask over your face before anybody else, you have to prioritize yourself. in terms of financial self-care.
And what you said about there about the ages and pension, because one thing we touched on earlier was that we're living longer, but also when it comes to state pensions and stuff like that, they're also cognizant of that. So they're moving the pension age. So when you think I know when I started out my career, the pension retirement age I'm talking for the UK was 65. It's now 70.
Yes.
It's 70. It's now an extra 5 years. That means I'm still potentially got another 10 years that I've got to work before I actually benefit from it.
And that is a global reality based on the fact that because of the advancement of medical care, persons are living longer. And just by inherent biological differences and behavioral changes also, that females live longer than males. So if you have that raw data, you have to act on it. You have to act on it.
Yeah. And especially as you said, you touched on that, like it or not, the responsibilities, the elder care, the child care invariably falls back to the woman.
Yes.
You know, so we've got to look
so,
out for ourselves. Yes.
It usually does. Yes.
So we've got to look out for ourselves. So thank you for that. So we've touched on the 60s, we've touched on the 40s. I'm not going to leave out my 50-year-old women at this stage. So many of them at this age may be catching up on their retirement savings, because then the heat of the call, they said, before Camille comes to me and gives me a slap and says to me, you get your finances in order. What are some strategies they could look at for accelerating their retirement savings at this stage?
So that may involve, and if you're behind the eighth ball, because in your 50s, you may be behind the eighth ball, and that may just be the reality.
Yes.
You have to think of getting possibly additional sources of income to maximize your savings and investments. So at this point in time, yes, I would have stated that it is not necessarily how much you earn, but is how it is that you manage it. But the reality of it now is that you need to step it up a notch in terms of whatever income you may get coming in, because what is happening is that you have a shorter window. You have a shorter window. And with retirement planning, it is based on the time horizon. What you want to do is that based on, you don't want to be in a panic when you're in your 50s. So you would have wanted to start out from early out as it relates to being a member of a pension arrangement or some tax vehicle that is giving you that particular benefit. Because when you hit your 50s now, you are supposed to be in that type of consolidation, the tail end of the accumulation phase. So you may be hit with numbers that when you sit down in front of a financial advisor, they may say, based on what is happening, you have within your pot of funds right now, we're looking on your savings, we're looking on your investments, you only have a coverage of, say, 10%. So based on your income, your pension coverage, you're only going to be replacing 10% of your current income. If you get that number, because the baseline that you should be working with is no less than around 80% you should be replacing.
Wow. Okay. But being devil's advocate here, let me just being devil's advocate here, you've told me I'm in my 50s, you've told me I've got to go out and get some additional income, maybe I get a second job and stuff like that. So why would I add that additional income to my pension pot and not just put it in my savings?
Because your money is not working hard enough for you.
Okay.
You need to invest, and you're going to, and the school of thought, the academic school of thought is that when you're younger, you're supposed to have that aggressive portfolio. So your portfolio should be heavily weighted in stocks. And as you get older, you get into a more conservative portfolio. So moderate, so aggressive, moderate, aggressive, moderate, and then conservative. However, if you are behind, you may need to rethink that strategy, because you may have to take on a little bit more risk, because you are trying to see how it is that you can optimize in terms of generation of income. But again, that needs to be guided by a financial advisor, because the more risk you take on, the greater the possible loss. And a very good financial advisor would have that sit-down conversation with you and say, okay, fine. we're going to diversify your portfolio so that if
Yeah.
one particular element of the portfolio takes a hit, the
Mm.
other, it can help to buffer it, so to speak.
Mm.
So you want to diversify it across asset classes and possibly in terms of, high yielding savings accounts or investment accounts, so that it is a mixed approach. So if something were to
Right.
happen, it doesn't impact the whole portfolio. So
Yeah.
you're not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Okay. Okay. So let me ask you another question. Maybe slight, it's not off topic. It's not off topic, but I'm in an per se, I'm working for an organization, and they've said to me that you can join. I can join the organizational pension, the company pension. Would
Yes.
I do that? Is that a good
Yes.
thing to do?
Yes, 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 yes. How many times have I said yes? Yes, 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 yes. You should be running to HR to say, where do I sign up? How much it is? Can I maximize it?
Yeah, yeah. Because I've heard, because I mean, I always have done. I always have done. But sometimes I've heard in the past that you're taking money. It's people see it as an outcome, as as a outcome outputs. It's like a tax. They see it as a tax maybe, and I'm like, I have no choice, or I'm already paying all this out already.
And I have other priorities and I don't want to do it. And
Yes, yeah.
this is, I can do better. No, and the age old commentary sometimes that I get is that I can do better with it. So
Okay,
give it
okay.
to you understand? So I don't want to invest. I don't want to be a part of this because I know that I can do better with it. But
Yeah.
my conversation with those persons is that if you are offered an opportunity where it is either your employer is going to be matching your contributions, you're going to possibly getting a tax benefit, why would you
Free
not?
money.
It's like you're leaving money. It's like somebody put some money
Yeah.
on a table, stack it up, and you
Yes.
say,
Yeah.
no, I don't want it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Yes, definitely. So we're coming down to the last couple of questions. So you mentioned a financial advisor. Why is that? Why is that a good route to take? Why can't I just sort it out myself, per se?
And by virtue of how much knowledge comes at you, and knowledge that comes at you, and you also have access to, yes, you can possibly try.
Yeah.
But why do you want to try when you have expertise in-house that can guide you by, and what you will do based on your own research and the knowledge that you have, you can ask very pointed questions.
Yeah.
Am I going to be getting a tax benefit? What is the rate of return? Is it outpacing inflation? What has been the performance? So you can get the knowledge, but you still need to get the expertise, because persons would be trained. They have, in terms of the suite of products and services, that they can say, this is how we're going to build out the portfolio. So yes, you can try, but you still want to have that level of expertise to help you navigate your financial journey.
Right. So I'm listening to this, or I'm going to listen to this, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe I do need to look at my pension. Maybe I've got work, I've got this, I've got a variety of different things going on. What's the first step? What's the first thing I should be doing, Camille?
The first thing, you need to walk through the doors. You need to walk through the doors of a financial institution and get started. I would have, and I say it in all my discussions, my presentations, is that there is a complacency in terms of acting. There's a complacency, and you say next week, next year, and you don't get it done. And then you recognize I'm 55, 4 years away from the time, 6 years away from retirement, and you would have put it off because, one, you're looking on your career, you're helping possible child care, you're helping your parents, you're all over the place, and time has passed. So it is always, it has to be a call to action. And prioritizing your self-care. And even with Hello Future, which was the vision for Hello Future was providing persons with the information and tools, and not just giving them the information, but when you even look through the calculator, it's supposed to give you a call to action to say, oh, but based on where I am, no, this doesn't look, no, no. And it's you're supposed to be motivated to say, look here, I need to check myself, because that is what we want. You don't just want to just have the information and not act. You have to, we as individuals, as a country, as a global community, we have to get persons excited. I wouldn't even want to say excited, but give them the information to
Yeah.
recognize the importance of long-term financial planning.
Yeah. 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 I think the thing that really brought it home for me was when I heard the adage, retirement is not an age, it's an income.
Yes.
So for me, that really rang true as the fact, okay, if I want to retire any earlier or I'm considering that, I need to know how much
Mm-hmm.
I have available to me to allow me to live.
Perfect. Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
So retirement is not an age, it's an income.
And you need to work towards it accordingly.
Definitely,
And
definitely.
when you have a goal, you need to be focused on that particular goal.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. Well, that was my last question, Camille, the last official question. Is there
Mhm.
anything you'd like to add to any woman listening and considering their retirement planning options?
Would have stated it before, and I would have to underscore it, the importance of your own financial self-care. Just like how you take care of whether it is your hair, your nails, whatever it may be, or even your children, whatever it may be, you need to prioritize yourself. You need to
Mm,
ensure that you act, not not saying yes, I will do it 1 week away, or you need to
yeah,
act now. You need
yeah,
to have that aggressive stance that I am going to put things in place so that I can avoid old age poverty, so that I
yeah,
can avoid being dependent on the state.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
need to prioritize your self-care. No one else can do it. You need to hold yourself accountable and get it done.
Love it. Thank you so much. And if people want to find out more about what you do or connect with you, how can they do that, Camille?
They can always email retirement@jmnb.com, and they can always email me, Camille_Steer@jmnb.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me today,
Thank you for
Camille.
having
It was
me. It
great, a
was a
great
pleasure
conversation.
having this discussion with you.
You made retirement planning not sound so dry.
Thank you so much. Truly appreciate it.